On November 1st, 2022, James Gunn officially became a co-CEO of DC Studios. Now, in 2022, I did not care, at all for DC, which was mostly thanks to the Snyderverse. And I was too busy obsessing over the new Guardians of the Galaxy 3 trailer to realize that that'd probably be James Gunn's last Guardians movie. But now that the new Superman movie came out, and nobody will let me forget it because every other commercial on TV is about this movie, I decided to try my luck again at DC, and thank God for that because this movie was awesome. Hi everyone, my name's Taylor, and this will be my first ever YouTube video, so just bear with me here. Other than the fact that there's so much going on in this movie, and I had to pay way too much attention to remember that Hawkgirl still existed, this movie was amazing. The themes were meaningful and relevant, the comedy felt natural, but also didn't overshadow the seriousness of the movie, not to mention that it was just gorgeous in general. And David Cornsweet was a phenomenal Superman. He, in my opinion, completely embodied the character perfectly. But for as much as I could rave about how good this movie was, conservatives could yap even more about how woke it was. Now, the term woke in urban slang means being aware of and actively attentive to important societal issues, particularly those related to social and racial injustices, which I'd say the themes of this movie are woke, not necessarily the movie itself. But the themes of the movie aren't the only thing that conservatives had an issue with, which this is just ridiculous. Just watch the clip. It's ridiculous.
I did not like this movie at all. This movie it drove me crazy because Superman is very weak in the movie and he's always in a defensive state. Always. It's not overly political or anything like that. They're not beating you over the head with the immigration stuff. None of that is happening. But when you start to pick it apart, it actually has a lot of elements where every man in this movie is weak and he cries. And they're all emotional.
Is that true?
They're all emotional. They're all emotional.
This is what they did with James Bond. They turned him from a steely-eyed dealer of death who, romanced woman after woman, who drank heavily, smoked, shot people, and they turned him into this blubbing cretin.
Yes.
And I was like, why would you do that? And then
I'm sorry, conservatives are upset because he cried? Because Superman cried? Because, God forbid, a masculine grown man show that he has human feelings? It's not like that was kind of the whole point of the movie. It's just so stupid. If any conservatives ever watch this video and agree with this opinion, just in the comments, just tell me, girl, why? Is it such a big deal to see a dude shed a tear in a situation where it is definitely well deserved? This isn't even woke, it's just humanity, which is the whole point of the film, showing that no matter where he came from or what powers he has, Superman is just as human as anyone else on this planet. But let's just get one thing straight. Conservative backlash didn't affect how well this movie really did. The Superman movie topped the Office box charts the weekend of its release, earning $217 million globally, which isn't surprising considering all the advertising they did for it. So even though conservatives kind of had a temper tantrum over one scene and the theme of the movie, it still did pretty well for itself. And that just begs the question, what are corporations like Disney so afraid of when it comes to making their movies more woke? Think about the Elio movie that came out recently. They redid the whole movie last minute just to cut out the queer storyline. Now, I did not see this movie. Like, let's just get that real. But from what I've heard, cutting out that storyline completely ruined the character and destroyed the movie. And yet, it was still 5th on the Office box chart. It made the 5th most money as all the other, probably better movies. And there wasn't even that much advertising done for this movie, which certainly not as much as the Superman movie. And I think the reason for this is that well-regarded and well-known companies like Pixar have the trust of the audience. Pixar is known for its incredibly memorable movies and movie franchises like Inside Out, Toy Story, Finding Nemo, and a ton of others. These are so famous and memorable that they made Pixar itself a brand that people trust to make good movies. So when something like Elio comes out, like, no matter like the reviews, people are still going to theaters because they trust Pixar. That's what keeps them at the top. You know what else people trust? Superman. It's not just companies that people put their trust in. It's also memorable and honorable franchises themselves. Superman is the most popular superhero of all time. Everyone trusts Superman. People also trust Batman and Wonder Woman and The Flash and tons of other popular DC characters. And I know the Snyder Cut kind of did these characters dirty, but if we look at the ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, we see that the movie has 93% audience approval rating. Even with the conservative backlash, that means that the audiences liked it. And if you keep making more and more movies that are good, first of all, and that audiences like, then you'll gain the trust of audiences just like companies like Pixar did. Now, why does something like that matter in the bigger picture? DC and James Gunn make a couple bucks, and audiences have good movies. So what? Well, we know from James Gunn's projects on things like Superman, first of all, duh, and even the Peacemaker series, that he's not afraid to integrate topics that may be sensitive to some, i.e. conservatives, into his work. And in a time where the political climate is leading towards the far right, showing issues and minorities like immigration for Superman and the LGBTQ community and in Peacemaker is pretty bold, especially when companies like Pixar are actively cutting these themes out of their work. James Gunn is I'm not gonna lie, James Gunn is a badass who is not afraid of authoritarians and people who oppose things that are all around us and who actively choose to ignore and shame them. And that is exactly what DC and cinema in general needs right now. We're at a point right now where big corporations that people trust aren't giving us the stories we need. Take Disney, for example. All the movies they pump out are either tacky and bland, or they're just pointless sequels that nobody cares about. Like, I loved the first Moana movie, but I didn't even go to see the second one because it just felt like a pointless cash grab. And don't even get me started on these trash live-action remakes that Disney keeps making. The point is, films in general are just getting crappier and are consisting of more sequels than ever. And while there is a good amount of original and seemingly good movies, those movies don't get as much advertising or fame as these cheap films from big and trustable corporations and franchises. You mentioned that they completely ignore topics that are found controversial or even shameful by a small group of discriminatory people. They don't tell stories that matter because those stories might upset a few people who spend their lives on Twitter. they ignore raising questions of ethics and morals about our society, leaving the movie as just a movie, not a story. But I think that James Gunn has the power to change that. People trust DC, even with the whole Snyder Universe thing, which, don't even get me started on that. They trust James Gunn for his phenomenal projects, and you can use that trust to educate and make cinema more than just pointless entertainment. You can make stories about minority groups that don't get enough representation, educating children and adults alike on the very real people that exist in the world. You can start conversations about ethics and morals in our society, and you can do this all in a way that is digestible to viewers through superhero movies and TV shows. James Gunn has a chance to change cinema for the better, because if you start making movies that have these real themes that apply to different kinds of people and different kinds of situations, then other also big corporations might follow if they see your success, which I have no doubt that even with this whole conservative yapping that you'll be successful, because if the Superman movie was successful with conservatives doing what they do best, then I have no doubt that any other movie will be successful, because conservatives don't make up the majority of the population, or at least conservatives that get mad at things like this. So honestly, James Gunn has a chance to make cinema better for everyone, and honestly, I can think of a better person to do it. If you made it through my first ever video, thank y'all so much. You literally just watching the video helps me more than you know. And don't be afraid to comment down below. I will be looking through the comments, and I am not afraid of a fight with a righty, or even just a regular conversation. I will be commenting on all of your comments. So bring it, conservatives, come on, just bring it. Alright now, bye!